the night my husband accused me of cheating. I was wearing a $14 lipstick. That was it. No secret messages, no hotel rooms, no hidden photos, just terracotta matte lipstick. And somehow, that was enough to make him look at me like I'd betrayed him. "Who did you get dressed up for?" Mark was standing in the doorway of our kitchen like he had just walked in on something indecent, his jaw tight, his eyes scanning me like I was evidence. I was sitting at the table with my laptop open, finishing a presentation for a Monday morning client call. The glow of the screen lit up my face. My lips were still bold, warm, alive, for the first time in years. "I bought lipstick," I said without looking up, "with the money you sent me for my birthday. Thanks, by the way." Silence. Not normal silence, the kind that feels like cold air sliding under a door. I looked up. Mark was gripping the back of a chair so tightly his knuckles were white. "You're wearing makeup." It wasn't a question, it was an accusation. I'm 32 years old. For the last 5 years of marriage, I've lived in stretched-out jeans and oversized gray hoodies. My hair lives in a ponytail. The last time I wore real makeup before this week was on our wedding day. Mark used to say he loved that about me. "Why would I want an Instagram model when I've got you? You're real." I used to smile when he said that, but inside, I was dimming, like the hallway light in an apartment building that flickers and nobody ever fixes. On my birthday, Mark was out of town on a business trip. He wired me money instead of flying home. "I'll make it up to you," he'd said over FaceTime, already half distracted. I said it was fine, because that's what I do. I make things fine. That afternoon, I wandered into a beauty store in the mall. I wasn't planning to buy anything. I hadn't stepped into a place like that in years. It felt almost forbidden. The sales associate smiled at me. "You should try this shade," she said, handing me a tester. Terracotta, matte, warm. I hesitated. Then I applied it, and something shifted. In the mirror, I didn't see the tired woman who folds laundry during Zoom meetings. I didn't see the one who orders groceries at midnight because she forgot again. I saw a woman, not a wife, not a future mother, not someone's support system, just me. I bought it. The next morning, I put it on before work and forgot to wipe it off. At the office, I was standing by the coffee machine when Daniel from the marketing department walked in. We've worked in neighboring offices for 3 years. Our relationship consists mostly of nods and "morning." He stopped mid-pour. "Wow." I blinked. "What?" "Lauren, have you always looked like that?" "Like what?" He smiled awkwardly. "Beautiful." I felt my cheeks burn. No one had said that to me in years. Not like that. Not like they meant it. I didn't flirt. I didn't lean closer. I didn't do anything inappropriate. I just stood there and felt seen. That feeling stayed with me all day, the feeling of being visible. So when Mark walked into the kitchen that evening and dropped his bag by the door, I didn't think anything of it until he froze. "You're wearing makeup." "Yes." "For who?" I laughed because I thought he was joking. He wasn't. "You've never just randomly started trying," he said, stepping closer. His voice dropped lower, harder. Women don't suddenly change like that for no reason. The air shifted. I closed my laptop slowly. "Maybe I wanted to," I said. "Or maybe someone made you want to." There it was, the accusation. My stomach tightened. "What are you implying?" "You've been on your phone more, staying late at work. Now this." He gestured toward my face like it offended him. "You expect me not to notice?" "I'm working," I snapped. "I've been preparing a campaign for 3 weeks. You'd know that if you ever asked about my job." "For which client?" he shot back immediately. I stared at him. "For the regional tech launch. For your department or for that guy you work with?" Something inside me dropped. "What guy?" "Daniel." He said the name like it tasted bad. The room felt smaller. "You're tracking who I talk to now?" "I see when my wife changes," he said sharply, slamming his hand against the table. My coffee cup rattled. "And it's not for me." The words hung there, heavy, sharp. I stood up slowly. My legs felt weak, but my voice didn't. "You're right." His face went pale. "I knew it." "Stop." My voice was quiet, but it cut. "Just stop." He actually took a step back. "You're right," I repeated. "It's not for you." Silence. The refrigerator hummed behind us. The wall clock ticked like it was counting down something irreversible. "It's for me," I said. He blinked. "What?" "For me. Because when I look in the mirror, I don't recognize the woman staring back. Because the last time you called me beautiful was 3 years ago at a company party, and you were drunk. Lauren, because on my birthday, you sent money instead of showing up. I was working. Money is not love," I exploded before I could stop myself. My phone slid off the table and hit the couch. "It's not attention. When was the last time you asked how I was? Not about bills, not about plans, about me." He was breathing hard now. "I provide for this family. I pay the mortgage. And I disappear in the process," I said, my voice breaking. "When was the last time you kissed me because you wanted to, not because it was routine?" He didn't answer, because he couldn't. "Daniel told me I was beautiful today," I said quietly. The room went still. One sentence. 3 years of working next to him. That's all it took. And you haven't said it once in 8 years without being prompted. His jaw tightened. "So you noticed him?" I laughed. It wasn't happy. It was exhausted. I noticed what it feels like to be seen. He sat down slowly. "What do you want from me?" he asked. I wiped at my cheek and left a faint smear of mascara on my wrist. "I want you to see me," I said, "not your wife, not your responsibility, not the woman who makes dinner and pays half the bills. Me. Just that. The person." He didn't know what to say. And for the first time in years, neither did I. But something had shifted. Not because I bought lipstick, but because I finally said the truth out loud. And once you say it, you can't go back to pretending you're invisible. For 2 days after that fight, we barely spoke. Not the dramatic kind of silence, the practical kind. "Did you pay the electric bill?" "Your mom called." "I'll be late." We moved around each other like roommates who had signed a lease, but not a life. But something had cracked open. And once a crack appears, you can't unsee it. On the 3rd morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee. Not the automatic drip machine kind, the kind with cinnamon, the way I like it. I walked into the kitchen and Mark was standing there, holding a mug like he was offering a peace treaty. "Good morning," he said carefully. I blinked. "What's this?" "Cinnamon. You always add cinnamon." I stared at him. We've been married 8 years. I've been adding cinnamon for 8 years. He had never noticed. Until now. "Thanks," I said quietly. He watched my face while I took a sip, like he was studying for an exam. Later that night, he asked about my presentation. Actually asked. "What's the campaign strategy? Who's the target audience? What's your role in it?" And he listened. He didn't interrupt, didn't check his phone, didn't wait for his turn to speak. He listened. It felt unfamiliar, suspiciously unfamiliar. The next week, he suggested we go to a movie on Friday. "Like we used to," he said. We hadn't done that in almost 3 years. We used to sit in the back row and whisper commentary, share popcorn, hold hands in the dark. Somewhere between mortgage payments and promotions, That version of us had quietly expired. But that Friday we went. He held my hand, and for a moment I felt something warm again. Not fireworks, not passion, but warmth. And I hated that it worked. Because part of me melted, and part of me wondered why it took the threat of losing me to try. Over the next month, he kept trying. Compliments came first. Awkward, almost mechanical. "You look good today." Then softer. "You smell amazing." Then one night, when I walked out of the bathroom wearing one of my new lip colors, deep plum this time, he paused. "Lauren," he said slowly, like he was rediscovering a word, "you're beautiful." My chest tightened, because I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to. He started going to the gym, bought new shirts, trimmed his beard more carefully. "I want you to want me too," he said one evening. And that line hit me harder than anything else, because it meant he had finally understood something, that I had stopped wanting him. Not physically, emotionally. When you feel invisible long enough, you don't cheat, you detach. And detachment is quieter than betrayal, but sometimes worse. 3 months passed. We were better, objectively better. He came home earlier. We ate dinner at the table instead of in front of separate screens. He asked about my day. He hugged me longer. Sometimes it even felt natural, like maybe we had just fallen asleep in our marriage and now we were waking up. I bought 6 more lipsticks, learned how to do winged eyeliner, started wearing my hair down to work. Not for Daniel, not for anyone, for me. And Mark noticed. He noticed everything now. That was the problem. One night, after we'd fallen asleep tangled together, his arm heavy across my waist, I woke up at 3:07 a.m. The room was dark, quiet. His breathing was steady, safe. I stared at the ceiling, and the thought came in slowly. Not loud, not dramatic, just clear. He didn't change because he understood. He changed because he was scared. Scared I would leave. Scared I would find someone who had seen me from the beginning. Scared he'd be alone in this apartment with its echoing rooms and half-paid mortgage. He didn't rediscover me. He reacted. There's a difference. Fear can look a lot like love. It brings flowers. It makes coffee with cinnamon. It whispers beautiful into your hair. But fear isn't devotion. It's survival. I shifted slightly in bed and his arm tightened instinctively. Even asleep, he held on. And I realized something terrifying. He wasn't holding me because he cherished me. He was holding me because he was afraid I might disappear. And suddenly, I didn't know which hurt more, being invisible or being visible only because you might leave. The next morning, he kissed the top of my head. "Morning, beautiful." I smiled automatically. He left for work. I walked into the bathroom and stared at myself in the mirror. Hair loose, skin brighter, lips soft pink today. I looked stronger, but inside, something was unsettled. Because when he said beautiful, I searched his eyes for truth, and all I saw was relief. Relief that I was still there, still his, still not gone. That night at dinner, he reached across the table. "I've been thinking," he said, "maybe we should start trying for a baby." The fork froze halfway to my mouth. "Why now?" He shrugged too quickly. "We're stable, things are good. It feels right." No, it felt strategic. A baby is not just love, it's insurance. I studied his face, the tiny crease between his brows when he's anxious, the way his jaw tightens when he's uncertain. He wasn't glowing with excitement, he was calculating permanence. "I'm not ready," I said slowly. His hand withdrew. A flicker of something crossed his face. Fear again. "Are you unhappy?" he asked carefully. That question almost broke me, because the truth wasn't simple. "I'm trying to figure out if you love me," I said quietly. He blinked. "Of course I love you." "Or if you're afraid of losing me." The room stilled. He didn't answer right away. And in that hesitation, I heard everything. 3 months ago, he thought I might be cheating. Now I realize something worse. He was right. But not in the way he imagined. I wasn't cheating with another man. I was falling back in love with myself, and that is much more dangerous. 3 weeks after he suggested we start trying for a baby, I stopped wearing lipstick. Not because I didn't want to, but because I wanted to see what would happen. It was a quiet experiment, a small one. I went back to ponytails, back to gray hoodies, back to bare lips. I didn't announce it, didn't make a scene. I just stepped backward and waited. The first day, Mark didn't notice. The second day, he looked at me longer before leaving for work. By the fourth day, he asked, "Everything okay?" "Of course," I said, and I smiled the old smile, the easy one, the convenient one. He brought home flowers that night. "Just because," he said. But I could see the question behind his eyes. "Are you slipping away again?" That was the moment I understood something terrifying. He wasn't in love with who I was becoming. He was afraid of who I might become without him. There's a difference, and it changes everything. A week later, I ran into Daniel at the office again. No makeup, hair pulled back. He smiled the same way he always did. "Morning, Lauren." That's it. No lingering stare, no compliment. And somehow, that felt more honest than anything happening at home. Because he had never tried to own my reflection. He had simply reacted to it. I went to the bathroom and looked at myself under fluorescent lights. Bare face, tired eyes, still me. And I realized something that felt like a quiet earthquake inside my chest. The lipstick didn't change my marriage, it exposed it. Mark didn't suddenly fall in love with me again. He panicked. Because for the first time, I wasn't orbiting him, I was orbiting myself. And when a woman starts choosing herself, men who are comfortable start to shake. That night, I didn't wait for him to start the conversation. He was sitting on the couch scrolling through his phone. I turned off the TV. He looked up immediately. That alertness again, that readiness. "Mark," I said calmly, sitting across from him, "do you love me?" He blinked. "You know I do." "No," I said, "I don't." Silence stretched between us. "I love you," he repeated, slower this time. "Why?" He opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "Because you're my wife, because we've built a life together, because you're..." "Comfortable?" I finished softly. His jaw tightened. "No." "Because I make things run smoothly? Because I'm stable? Because I don't cause chaos? That's not fair." "Then tell me something unfair," I said. "Tell me something real." He stood up, pacing once across the living room. "I was scared," he admitted finally. "Okay? I was scared. When you changed, when you started shining like that, I thought you were going to leave." There it was, raw, not romantic, just honest. "And if I had?" I asked quietly. His eyes met mine. "I don't know who I'd be without you." And that was the problem. He didn't say, "I don't want to live without you. I choose you. I desire you." He said, "I don't know who I'd be." He needed me as an anchor, not as a partner. "I don't want to be the thing that keeps you from drowning," I said. His face softened. "You're not." "Then what am I?" He stepped closer. "My home." That word almost undid me, because home sounds like love, but sometimes it's just shelter. "I need more than being your home," I whispered. "I need to be wanted, not needed, wanted." He looked at me like he was trying to translate a language he'd never studied. I thought it was the same thing. It's not. Needed means functional. Wanted means chosen. He had needed me for years, but I wasn't sure he had chosen me in a very long time. Over the next few days, we didn't explode. We didn't threaten divorce. We didn't sleep in separate rooms. But something shifted again. This time, quieter, more adult. He stopped trying so hard. Not because he gave up, but because I stopped reacting to the panic gestures. When he complimented me, I didn't melt. When he brought coffee, I didn't glow. I thanked him, but I didn't reward him with relief. And slowly, something interesting happened. The fear in him settled, and something else began to surface. Curiosity. He started asking different questions. Not, "Are you leaving?" but, "What do you want?" Not, "Are you happy with me?" but, "Are you happy?" The difference is subtle, but it's everything. One evening, he came home and sat beside me on the couch. No flowers, no strategic romance, just him. "I've been thinking," he said quietly. "I don't know how to love you the way you need, but I want to learn." That sentence felt different. Not desperate, not defensive, just vulnerable. "And not because you might leave," he added softly, "because I don't want to lose you to yourself." That was the first time it sounded like choice. Not fear, choice. I looked at him for a long moment, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was being held in place. I felt like I was being invited. It's been 6 months now. We're still here, not magically healed, not dramatically transformed, but honest. I still wear lipstick, some days bold, some days bare, and he doesn't flinch anymore. Sometimes he compliments me, sometimes he forgets. Sometimes I remind him what I need, and he listens. Not perfectly, but intentionally. And here's the truth no one likes to admit. Some marriages aren't saved by love. They're saved by confrontation, by a woman refusing to disappear quietly, by a man facing the fear he mistook for devotion. The night he accused me of cheating because of lipstick, he was right. I was changing. I was becoming someone who wouldn't accept invisibility. And that version of me would have left. Not for another man, but for myself. The real betrayal in our marriage wasn't infidelity. It was neglect. And neglect is silent. It doesn't leave lipstick stains. It leaves ghosts. We almost became one of those couples who look fine on paper and empty in person. But fear opened the door, and truth walked through it. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe we'll last, maybe we won't. But if we do, it won't be because he was afraid to lose me. It'll be because he chose to see me, and I chose to stay. There's a difference, and once you learn it, you can never unlearn it.